And when I see it, hi everyone and welcome. This is called the Microsoft Infused Classroom Checks for Understanding, but it's not just Microsoft. It is just about infusing your classroom with powerful checks for understanding. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have guests from as far away as Sri Lanka in here with us, which is fantastic, and some in SoCal, which I'm just now seeing, which is where I'm from. And then, of course, San Diego, which is great. And so I'm going to be talking about powerful checks for understanding. And some of you have been to so many sessions, and gosh, you are troopers. Boy, are your students lucky. But I know you also just want to do these really powerful, engaging lessons that make teaching fun again. And that's what we're going to talk about. Oh, North Carolina too. So that's what we're going to talk about in this particular session. And I'm going to give some examples. And because now there's getting to be a lot of us, but feel free to please ask questions. And I see some I always like to say repeat offenders, but it's really not the right word. But people who have come back and who are committed to learning. Some of the examples I'm going to show you, you may have seen. So if that's the case, I apologize. This is a repeat session, so you may have already even seen it. But let's get started for those people like my Sri Lanka person who might not have seen this. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to head over to this. And you are welcome to grab this slide deck if you would like, or go to it once it starts. But I'm really going to be going out to examples and showing you examples. So the slide deck in this kind of instance isn't going to be as important. I'm also going to go layer on top of this, hopefully, if it will work, PearDeck, so that we can see that, and we can see all the ways that you could get checks for understanding. So let's get started. And right now I can see the chat. So if you have any questions, you can ask there, or you can just be like, knock, knock, if you want to turn on your microphone. And so I'm Holly. I live in San Diego. I actually live in the La Jolla area because I know I have San Diego guests in here, not in the non-teacher La Jolla area, in the teacher La Jolla area. But and I've been teaching for over 25 years. And why I'm here presenting to you today is because I got my first one-to-one classroom in the year 2000, and that has helped me teach in this way for 20 years. So when remote learning came, I was like, no problemo, because this is something I've been doing for a long time. So if you want to, because this is the last week of this particular Q conference, if you want to continue the learning, you can go join the Facebook group for Infused Classroom. And all of these other things. You can follow me on Twitter. The W is my blog. You can continue the learning in that way if you would like, so that you don't miss out on anything. And during the school year, as I see stuff, as I try stuff, and I've said this in every session, I send out newsletters with as much information as I can. Right now, I'm just sharing like free conferences and stuff because we're not in school, so I don't have student examples. But during the year, I'm whipping out my camera. I'm taking videos of stuff that kids are doing in classrooms and that we're trying, and I'm sharing those out mostly in those newsletters. So if you want to sign up for that, you can just go to Infused link /tips. So we're going to go to the next slide, I'm trying to, and we're going to talk about the technology integration framework that we're going to use for this particular session. And in this session, I want to focus in on these 3 ideas. And these ideas come from the Microsoft Infused Classroom and the Google Infused Classroom. And I wrote these 3 ideas because I always had teachers asking me, like, how are you doing that in there? And I said, well, what I'm doing is I'm not trying to use technology and throw it on top of what I'm already doing. I'm trying to get technology to support what's happening in my classroom. And one of the things I have to do is I have to always do checks for understanding or formative assessment. And so when I'm doing that, I want to make sure I'm doing it and I'm making student thinking visible, and that I'm hearing from every student every day in my class. And some of you who have been to sessions with me this whole summer have heard this a million times. So I hope as you sit down to lesson plan, you say to yourself, okay, now, what am I going to do at the end here to make sure I'm making student thinking visible? What am I going to do to hear from every student? And then what am I going to do to allow students to share their work so they can learn best from each other? And I'm actually going to show an example I didn't show last time in this session. So what I want you to do is on your computer, if you're using Chrome or Edge or whatever you're using, go to a new tab. And I'm going to switch for a second. And I'm going to come out to the desktop. And I'm not going to be able to see your questions for a second while I'm out at the desktop, I believe. Now, I'm going to need one of you brave souls to tell me if you can see this Socrative thing. And I'll come back over. And maybe even someone can put it in the chat. Can you see this when I'm over at it? Coming back? Yes. Okay, thanks. You guys won't turn on those microphones. Anyway, we're going to go to Socrative. We're going to use this as and see the framework. So what I want you to do is go to log in. And you're going to log in as a student. And I'm going to log in as a teacher. So, oh, there we go. So let me log in. And then I'm going to get in and you'll be able to see because it's going to ask you for a room number. And my room number is Holly 1234. So I want you to put in this room number and it's going to just say waiting for teacher or something like this. Oh, my pro account expired. Oh, well. So I'm going to go to short answer. And I'm going to ask, what's your favorite, what technology learning tool do you use now that you absolutely love? And then please share the name. And then it says, I think, in a way that you're using it, we'll see what it says. So I'm going to start. And now you guys should, let me go over. You should be here at the student. And the room number is Holly 1234. You put that in. And you join. And then you answer right here. I'm going to head back over to the teacher view so that I can be watching as your answers come in. Oh, yay. Immersive Reader for the win. Oh, look at all of our Microsoft friends. Even if you're a Google school, getting to know OneNote is really, I think, really important for students. Yay for PearDeck. Flipgrid, yes. Edpuzzle, great. All of these are fantastic. You guys are pretty savvy teachers, it looks like. Kahoot! Fun. PearDeck, me too. Lots of Flipgrid, lots of PearDeck, some Kahoot. Boom cards! I don't even know what that is. Gosh. I want to pass the mic and find out what that is. And we have Nearpod and Flipgrid. So this is great. So so as you can see, you can probably see these answers coming in. I didn't ask for your name, but in class, if I had asked for your name would appear right next to where it says Microsoft Teams or something like this. So what I've done is this, and I'm going to come back over. This is not going to be the most fun. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to share again. And it's going to start at the beginning, so I apologize for that. It's just part of this whole new little world we live in. Pretty soon they'll get savvy and I can have like screens. I can do that in another program that I use where I can flip between screens. And now it's taking forever to open. Awesome. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to outsmart it. And I'm going to do screens. Oh, too late. Okay, so this, when we think about what just happened, and we're going to go back to it in a second, I wanted to know what you liked. And so and thank you guys for answering that Holly 1234 in there. I wanted to make your thinking visible. So if we go back to Socrative, I've made some level of your thinking visible. It wasn't profound, but I did get to find out something about you. I heard from all of you, and because we shared your work on the screen, you guys got to see what other people were sharing. Now I'm going to head back, and let's see if I can make this. Nope, it's not going to let me be easy with it. So I'm going to head back and show you something I can do. So here's where we shared your work. And because you can see other people's examples, it might send you into a state of metacognition, thinking about thinking as you look through these answers. But here's what I can do. I can go up to start a vote, and I can push this out to your screen. This always happens when I'm doing online. It makes me redo it. But now, if I start a vote, look at your screen, and you can see everyone's answers. And I can ask you to vote on someone else's answer that you didn't pick. Like if you pick Flipgrid, don't pick someone who picked Flipgrid that you're interested in learning more about. So then you go and you select it, and you go to the bottom and press submit, and you can vote on other people's answers right now. So try that out. So right now you're looking at people's answers. You're not only knowing your answer, which is kind of a 1985 way of teaching, and you're getting a chance to really kind of critically look at other answers and critically think about it. And this takes us back to, now I have to go back to the screen and stop sharing and get back. And as soon as it shares again in about 2 seconds, it doesn't even look like it's trying. Give me a second. Let me make sure I did it right. Sorry, y'all. Okay, now here we go. It's just taking a second to open. But if we go back to that kind of thought process around making thinking visible, that's what I'm trying to get at through this activity of Socrative. I want to just quickly check for understanding. So I'm sitting in front of a classroom, and I'm thinking, did they get that? Or I want to know something about what they ingested from the homework last night. And so I quickly go over to Socrative. I type in that short answer question, and I push it out. Takes me 30 seconds. Now the students respond. They see what other kids are saying. I'm getting to hear from every kid in the class. And that's really how we want to use technology in the classroom. This is true even in a remote learning situation. I could throw Socrative up in a Teams tab. I can't really do it in Classroom. One of the reasons I love Teams over Classroom. And sorry, you guys, they're doing lawn work right outside my window. I apologize. But this is an opportunity for us to use technology to get at more powerful information. And the reason this is more powerful is because I'm hearing from every kid. Generally in my class, when it's face-to-face, I might ask kids to raise their hand. Who knows the whatever? And the kids raise their hand. Now I'm hearing from the kid who raise their hand all the time. And you guys know this scenario, the same 5 kids always raise their hand. And the shy kid or the kid who's new to English as a language doesn't raise their hand. And I don't hear from that kid. So this is our first way of kind of getting at this framework, but it's text-based. And I'm not a big fan of always doing everything in writing. In fact, I saw something on Twitter yesterday or the day before that said kids should be writing in every class. And they should be. They absolutely should be writing across the curriculum. But guess what else they should be doing? They should be speaking about their learning instead of everyone being like, shh, be quiet. And so we're going to go and we're going to apply this framework to speaking about learning. And we're going to use, as an example, Flipgrid. And some of you are probably using Flipgrid. If you're not, I have this. I'm going to put it in the chat. I have this free online course. Oops. We'll come to this in a second. That you can go and learn Flipgrid in an hour. And it's me teaching you. So, oops, it's not Flipgrid. I'm putting in the wrong. me teaching you. So if you like my style, then you'll get my style in there. If you don't like my style, it might not be for you, but no. So you can go there and check that out, but I'm going to show you some examples. But first, I want you to understand what we're going to be learning in this session. So we're going to learn the why of checks for understanding, and we're going to talk about grading the trajectory, and that is something that's going to come next. And that means getting at what students know before a lesson, and then what they know at the end, and grading the in-between part of that. We're going to talk a lot about press record. And press record is my cute little way of saying that we need to allow students to talk and tell us about their learning, and that they're going to do that by press record. They do that inside of Flipgrid, but they don't do that in Socrative. That's text-based. And I feel we're a little bit too heavy in the text these days. I wonder if I should go close my door, or if he's going to move away. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to see if this guy's going to go away. Okay. So let's get started with that. And I want you to think about this. When we do a check for understanding, I'm going to say something a lot of people, I think, know, but maybe feel like they can't do at their school. But when we're checking on a student's understanding, we really should never grade that. Now, I have a lot of teachers tell me, but I have to have things in the grade book. And I understand that angst, so to speak. But this is where the student is growing towards a word some people use is mastery. I don't really love the word mastery, but toward understanding this idea. And if we grade their check for understanding like in a quiz form or a pop quiz should be something you never do again, ever in your life. It goes against everything we know cognitively about learning. If you put that kind of pressure on a kid and give them pop quizzes in the middle of their learning and they don't do well, they're going to shut down. They're not going to say, oh, I need to learn more. Oh, I'm failing. They start to lose self-esteem in this particular subject matter. So this is what happens to kids in math, that we test them and give them these grades before they're ready to demonstrate understanding. And so and this can be, your own journey. You don't have to take my word for it. But when we're checking for understanding, we really are just doing this so that we can help a kid if they need it. So if they need, and give me a second on that, I think it says Sharon. If we're checking for their understanding, it's our opportunity to go and help them, get them the resources they need towards the mastery. And then we have a question that says, what about pop quiz as AFL? And I'm not sure what you mean by AFL. And it might just be because I'm tired today and maybe I just can't remember what AFL. Assessment for learning. So a pop quiz, if you're doing it for assessment for learning, and it just came to me, sorry. If it's a way to kind of gauge for the student that they're not where they need to be, it's possible. It's possible. But there's something kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but almost like punishing and getting a question wrong. But if I just write down an answer in this thing that we just did, which was a short answer, no one's going to tell me with a thing coming back that I got this one wrong. I'm really going to be able to assess that I got it wrong on my own by looking at the other student answers, and that thinking about thinking and making that adjustment in my own is a much more powerful way. And that's kind of, I think, what you're getting at with that quiz. So in some instances, of course, but and you guys aren't doing this because you're here on a Wednesday at noon, like trying to get your learning on, but that many teachers are like, ha, 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 pop quiz, you didn't do your homework. None of you are probably like that, but that's the kind of pop quiz I'm talking about. The kind that's punitive, the kind that's like, now you have an F in the grade book, because that's not going to get kids to where they need to go. And listen, I've done it. I did it in my early years because it was done to me. So I thought that's what you did. And especially when kids weren't doing homework, I was like, oh, I'm going to get you. And now I just am such a different teacher. But it took me decades, right, to become better. So I want you to think of a check as this kind of like in this thing that we're looking at right here. I get an assessment of prior knowledge. We do some work. I check. I make sure everything's going right. You're coming down the road with me. If not, I might help you make some adjustments. You show me you're learning a little bit. Then I check again. And then you show me a little bit. And I'm helping you progress through this journey to the end where you demonstrate your understanding and then you apply it to a new and authentic situation. And that's the road that kids should be going down. And those checks where you see the word check, those we should attempt not to grade them. I will be honest with you. I have been in schools where they needed a bunch of grades in a grade book. So I would give every kid a 10 on the check. And because they did it. And you work your way around some of the limitations of schools, but hopefully you get what I'm saying here. So let's talk about this. So we're going to talk about checks for understanding in terms of multiple choice questions, text and verbal, and what they give us. So let's, and I don't know why those all have ones there. I apologize for that. Let me go out for a second. And we're going to layer on top of this. We're going to layer on top a PearDeck. And I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to head back and I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to go and I'm going to look at this particular slide deck inside of Microsoft Office. Oops, it might not do it. Give me a second. It's very possible. There we go. Okay, now I just need to make sure, can you all right now, can someone turn on their microphone and tell me, can you see this powerful check of understanding?
Yes.
Thank you, brave soul. So this PearDeck that I'm going to layer on top, I've gone and I could do this in Google Slides and I can do it in PowerPoint. And for Google Slides, I just go to, I believe it's insert, and then I go to add-ins. And then in Google Slides, I just go to add-ons. It's the same thing. So I go and I search in add-in, same thing in Google. I look for PearDeck, and I probably made a big mistake here by going away from the window. I think it's already there. I saw it already there. So I hit this, I sign in, and let's see if it'll let me log in. Yes, I think we're good.
Holly, I have a question.
Thanks for asking.
If you've created Google Slides and you have PearDeck or Nearpod as an add-on already overlaid to in your slides, but you are giving it to your students as a PowerPoint, or you have to present it as a PowerPoint, is the PearDeck or Nearpod going to translate to that change in, I guess, tool of delivery?
No, because let's say you made it in slides, and this is the person who's Google trainer and now in Microsoft School.
Yeah.
You can keep the slides the same, but you're going to have to go sign into your PearDeck account here inside, just like you would on slides. But now you're going to have to sign in using you could even use your Gmail. It would work, but you've got to sign in over here. That's the only difference.
Okay, so you don't need to re-overlay anything. It'll show up. It's just you need to log in.
So I don't know if you need to relay. I haven't tried that actually. I don't have an answer.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's a goodie. Okay, so we're going to go in right now really quickly and using PearDeck for those people who have not used PearDeck. I'm going to present with PearDeck right now, and you're going to need to, and I can choose student paced activity, which means students can do this at home, or I can do the pacing right now so that we work together and I can see your answers. So what you need to do in a different tab is just go to joinpd.com, and you're going to go put in green elephants keep misty zebras. I don't love these names they give them. I make my students, if they get in early, come up with a different name. I do all kinds of stuff to try and keep them. I usually teach middle school, so I got to keep them engaged. So we have 4 students that are connected right now. I'm going to give you a little bit more time to get connected. Now we're at 8. And then at any time, if you come in or you just went out to get a glass of water and you come back in and you don't know where we are, this code lives on the slides. So that's really nice. So I'm going to start my class. And I got to get to the thing that I'm trying to get to that's got something layered on top. And I think this one has something layered on top. But I don't, hold on. I don't see the thing. So, okay. So, oh, doesn't look like it. I think this might be the answer. I might have brought this in from, let's find out. I might have brought this in from slides. So if you're on this slide, it should work. So I want you to write your response. And let's see, can anyone tell me, is it working? Can you do your response? Can you write your response?
No.
No.
Interesting. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to layer on top of it. Let me see. How can I get one that's... So we're going to pretend that this says, hold on, and it should work now. But if we're going to pretend it says instead, what is one tech tool you wish you knew more about before having to do remote learning? So forget this text and answer, what is one text tool you wish you knew more about before remote learning? And this is the answer to that Google Slides. Apparently, no. So now I can come and start to look at responses. So I can look at your responses. I can put them on the screen the way that I did with Socrative. But you know what I can't do, and is the reason I come back to Socrative every time, is I can't allow you to vote on these. And it was pretty cool when I sent that back out to your screen for you to vote on. Now, I certainly could layer on another slide in the next one that said pick one of the ones that you just saw. But when you have 30 kids responding like this, you might not remember some of them. And I really, really appreciate that Socrative lets me push that back out for kids to look at. Because some kids don't even really know what answer they put, and now they can really look over other kids' responses. So I like this when I'm presenting, but I would probably honestly head over to Socrative in a different tab for this particular function. But we're going to go back over and we're going to go to draggable. I'm going to have to drag, oops, what am I doing? I'm going to have to drag, hey, I'm going to have to just do a draggable. And here's the question you're going to have to remember. Do multiple choice questions give us rich information about student learning and growth? And then I'm going to put the drag. I'm assuming you can't drag on this because it says new prompt. So I'm just going to put a draggable on there. And then this lady is yes. This is maybe. And this is no. And the question was, do multiple choice questions give us rich information about student learning and growth? And I'm going to watch your responses. And I like that some people are putting like kind of maybe. Sometimes. I can write a good one sometimes, I think. But I feel like, oh, and you guys are playing now. Good for you. It's Wednesday at noon. But you can see if this were that particular slide that I was just using, I could have you drag to my emojis, which makes it a little bit more fun. And I could even choose an emoji or a Bitmoji of a kid in the class if I wanted to make it fun. But this is how we can use PearDeck to layer some of that check for understanding. Now, later on in PearDeck, I can kind of go back and see what your responses were. Same thing with Socrative. I can do that as well. But I'm really into this draggable one. If I were teaching something like capitals, now, if you are in California, I can't speak for other states, but you no longer have to teach state capitals. It's not part of our standards. Understanding what they are and kind of where they're located, usually by waterways and things like that, is important, but memorizing the state capitals is no longer a standard. And so I might instead use a map and be like, so where, like, who knows where the state capital is for California? And I might put up a map and let kids do this draggable just to have fun, seeing if kids know where state capitals are. And they'll be like, I don't know, some of them or whatever. So I'm going to end this because it was a complete, you guys were awesome to be able to let me layer something on top of that. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to share my screen, stop sharing and share again. But one of the things that is hard is I've got to go back. I've got to start the PearDeck, and then I've got to be presenting information as if I have the content and I'm giving it to you. And in the cases where I am doing that, I love PearDeck. But I do find that I go out to Socrative a little more. What did you guys think about the difference between Socrative and PearDeck in terms of the just the text base, not the draggable, but the text base? And I'm looking for your answers over in the chat. And Wendy, yes, draggable is a premium feature. And by the way, you can get 3 months of the premium feature if you go to this, and don't do it until like you get back to school. But if you go to peardeck.com / I think it's Holly, I want to say _Clark or dash. I think it's dash. And I'll look at the end. You can get 3 free months of PearDeck. And I like it, but you guys aren't answering. Oh, I like the visual in PearDeck. That's really true. I think that could be, I felt Socrative was less messy, pretty straightforward for a tech challenge person. Yep. And I like that the kids have to interact and vote on that answer. I've asked PearDeck to add that, and I think they're going to. And when they do, then I'll probably be done with Socrative once you can vote on it. And I like that someone put they like both. And this is the beauty of it. You don't have to be all PearDeck all the time. Or a lot of people ask me, when do you pick Flipgrid? And when do you pick Seesaw? Or why are you using both? And for me, they give me different things. The one, as a technology kind of coach, one of the things I worry about is that in PearDeck, there'll be too much presenting on a PowerPoint. Sometimes I worry about that. Not in the student paced mode. Doesn't mean it's true, but I don't want my teachers always using PowerPoints if I can help them rethink some stuff. And Crystal, the Socrative at the last minute is really nice. And I can do it on the fly. PearDeck, I can start to do it on the fly the better I get at it, but it's a little less easy. And then kids are like, what is the join PD? Can't, even though it's so easy, you know how it goes sometimes. Okay, so let's keep going and let's talk about some of the other ways that we can do this. So from this point on in this session, we're going to be talking about press record. And this is my new favorite concept. And I'm using this because it's easy to remember. It's really a lot more than pressing record, but we have all of these apps today that have this feature built into them that kids can record their thinking. If you're in a PowerPoint, you can press record and explain the ideas of why you designed the PowerPoint that way. Same thing for slides. Flipgrid, Wakelet allows you to do that. Screencastify is one of my favorite tools for this. Book Creator, I'm going to show you this in a second. And Seesaw all have this way that kids can tell you about their learning journey. So let me just answer something that's in the chat really quick. It says, my students use iPads and I'm a bit concerned about the ease of navigation between applications while on Teams for live classes. I can't really answer that. Because I get, like, you think they might go out and do some other stuff. But if you make your lesson engaging enough, maybe they won't, and have it in a hyperdoc where they're going out and consuming stuff that's pre-done for them. But anyway, so I'm going to come back to press record and talk about this. So I'm going to take you out to an example, and I'm going to just grab it and put it up really quickly, and then I have to reshare my screen. There's got to be a better way, but here we go. I'm going to show you this girl, and I wanted to know something, and I want to explain what I did here. And so I'm going to go back right now and share my screen so you can see this Flipgrid. Some of you may have seen this, but it's really, for me, it's a profound way of teaching. And I don't see many teachers doing this, so I really want to share this with you. So this is a time when we were going to be learning about plant and animal cells. And I wanted to know what the kids knew about plant and animal cells before we began. And so I had the kids all go and talk about what they knew about plant and animal cells, but it's much more than that. I'm going to do a couple other things after this that I'll explain, but let's listen to what she says about plant and animal cells. This is going to inform my instruction as a teacher. It's going to be a place where I know where she is when we start the unit. So when we finish, I can compare where she finished with where she started, and I can grade the trajectory, the in-between part. So I'm grabbing her assessment of prior knowledge right here.
What makes up everything around us. They can also be germs and viruses that are inside of us. They're also there can be white blood cells, there can be blood cells, there can be photosynthesis cells.
Okay, so she's almost there. She's got the photosynthesis, but there are no photosynthesis cells. And so I'm starting to see where some of their thinking is going off track. They almost all said there are virus cells because you can see the date here. It's February 24th. They're starting to hear about a virus. And so I'm getting an assessment of prior knowledge. But here is where I do something that I don't see other teachers do. So I have these kids, after they come and tell me personally, they go with a partner and they talk and they say, well, here's what I said. I said there's photosynthesis cells and there's white blood cells and there's virus cells and whatever. And the other kid says what they said. And then they have a moment and they see, well, maybe one kid had said there are organelles. And they're like, oh yeah, organelles. That's it. Yeah, I forgot about those. And then they have 2 minutes to go Google plant and animal cells. And you'll see right here, you're going to see what happens. So they do the plant and animal cells and they look at some stuff and they correct and they augment what they just told me. And so there's this critical thinking going on and there's this activation of curiosity going on because they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. There's something in there with the nucleus. Yeah. And so I'm activating curiosity this way by just having them first talk about it, talk with a partner, and then they come back. See this little thing where you see here, that's her name again. This is her actual reply to herself. After she did that, she came back and said, okay, I want to add, it's not photosynthesis cells. Photosynthesis is something that happens when the sunlight hits a plant cell. And she corrects herself. And she does that without me needing to do that. So I get to see where they are when they're all alone. I get to activate their curiosity by talking to a friend and Googling it. And now I take this video and I place it inside of a learning journal that I keep. And I'm going to show this to you, but I'm going to see if there's a way, if I can download this right now, so that I'm going to go back. So I can come over here to her thing. and I can go to actions inside of Flipgrid. Again, if you don't know Flipgrid, it's really basically a video response system. And you can go to infused.link/online, and you can take an hour class on Flipgrid at your own pace, whatever you need from that. You can go to the advanced part if you're advanced. So I can come over here and I can download this. And if at any time you guys can't see my screen, please let me know. But I'm going to download the video, and it's going to place it at the bottom because I'm using Chrome browser. But if I were using Edge, same thing, it would download it to the bottom. So it's sitting right down here, and I'm kind of pointing at that if you can see that. So now I'm going to come over here to Book Creator. I also have a free online course for Book Creator. That one takes probably a little bit longer. I was working with some students today, so we were doing this. So let me head over to our plant and animal cells. So here is what I would make, and this is a science example, but I would make a book or have the students make a book about plant and animal cells. This is one that I'm making to show them what I want, but I've placed this animal cell there. And now as we open it, their assessment of prior knowledge, I guess I didn't need to actually download that because here it is. If I click on this, that's that video of her.
I think cells are what makes up everything around us. They can
So
also be
all I
germs
did
and viruses that are
is, and I'll take this out to show you what I did. Let me move this and delete. Come on. Why won't you delete? So I'm going to move it over here so you can see how I got it in. I go to add and I go to import and embed. And actually, I don't even have to do that. I forgot I have it down here. I just drop it inside. It takes a second to load. You can see it loading at the bottom right-hand corner. So now they're going to build for me this book that has their assessment of prior knowledge. And then as we begin to interact with cells, we're going to start bringing in those artifacts of learning. And I don't not know. There we go. So while that loads, I'm going to take you to the other pages. So here is her writing in what a plant is. Now, this particular time, I think I did this and I just went to the internet and got it. But this little press record, see this? They go up here to add and record, and they explain to me, not in these words. I'm going to cover these words up. You can't see me right now, but I'm covering them up with my hands. I want them just to explain and record to me what plant and animal cells are. After they've written this definition, now in their own words, what is it? So I'm grabbing these little recordings along the way where they're starting to articulate. One of the things that we do in this class that I was working with, and this amazing teacher from Oklahoma, I wish, oh, she's the best teacher. I wish she would have been my teacher. They love the cell rap song for plant and animal cells. So that plays while we're doing stuff in the room and they're building the clay versions and what have you. And so we're putting all these artifacts of things they love inside of this book. And we were going to continue to build it, but you all know what happened. And so this is where I'm grabbing those things along the way that we're doing that interest them. And at the end, if we wouldn't have had COVID-19, they would have turned in this book to me with everything that they learned. And they would have then said at the end, here's everything I learned, here's what I'm proud of, here's what I love. And I'm going to show you their actual books. We didn't get to finish, but I want to show you what's inside of them. And we'll just go, it's so sad. These kids, I miss them. So in this particular example, we're using a merge cube and they're looking inside at the inside of an animal cell. And they're supposed to, and I don't know if they got a chance to because it got shut down so quickly, but record themselves saying what's happening inside of this merge cube. What's different between this one and then this one should be an animal cell. This kid didn't get to it. But I'm keeping a record, and you know what I need to do? I need to go to a different period, this period. And let's just see. I'm going to go here and hope. And so you can see she's got this. Let's play it.
The mitochondria is the powerhouse, the nucleus,
So we've been learning, and they're telling what's going on in this cell. It's not the greatest recording. It's a sixth grader who's now, for the first time ever, being asked to press record and tell me they're thinking, and they're not good at it at first. And it's not super engaging, so some teachers stop doing it. But once they learn how to really answer this, and they get really good with their language, they become rich and powerful experiences. I just thought about something. You all saw their names. I hope it's okay that I hope you forgot their names already. So I'm going to come back over and I'm going to look in the chat. So I want you all to go over to the chat window for a second, please, and tell me, what do you think of this idea of taking these artifacts and placing them inside of this container called Book Creator and using that for students to turn in? And someone just asked for the link to the course. Here it is. Same exact link. Both Book Creator, Adobe Spark, and Flipgrid are there for free. There's one course that's there that costs, but you worry about the free ones. And so this is how I'm getting at these checks for understanding. I'm asking kids, and this is the most important part, I'm asking them to tell me about what they know, what they've learned. And another thing is, I see a lot of people doing these really great things in things called Seesaw, which I'm going to go to right now. And I can't remember if you guys can still see my screen. Oh no, don't do that. I hope I just didn't delete her thing. I'm going to come back and make sure if you guys can see me. So can you guys see my screen when I was out at Seesaw?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And I hope I didn't just delete my very favorite of all of them. And I think I did. I think I saw, it's going to not be good. Okay. So in this example, and some of you have seen this before, but I had the students picking their favorite stanza of a poem and then drawing what it meant to them. And this kid didn't want to draw, so he used icons, whatever, I don't care. And then they're using press record to explain to me why this drawing represents that stanza. And I've seen a lot of teachers do these first two, and everyone's like, ooh, look at what you can do in Seesaw. And I'm like, but where's their thinking? How do you know what this means? I mean, you kind of think you know it, but so hopefully this little girl, I didn't just erase hers because we can hear it, thankfully. So you can hear her explanation.
In my image, I take punishment as a way that you can physically and verbally hurt someone. You can make them feel less than what they are.
So you can hear she says verbally. That's not even a word. But if we would have, and we did continue with this particular class, but if we continue to have them respond to their learning, they become really articulate. And I get a check for understanding. What do you know about this poem? And so now and this is what happened in real life. I found out, I had been talking about Nelson Mandela and how this was his favorite poem. And they all wrote or not all of them, but most of them talked about Nelson Mandela as if he wrote the poem. So I had to go back and correct that. And that was kind of bad on my part. But this is how and you won't go into any of my classes in this particular, I can go anywhere. I can go to my short story. You're always going to see this press record. Some kids forget, but that's just because they forgot. They should have the press record. And they're telling me why they chose these 4 pictures in this little assignment we did for an appointment with love. So that press record is how I'm checking for the learning, for the understanding, for anything I might need to adjust. And I'm going to come back. And so if you do one thing different next year with these devices in your classroom, just remember this. easy, quick little fun saying of press record. As they leave your classroom, think to yourself, oh, did I hear from all of them? Oh, I should have pressed record. So, so that is the powerful checks for understanding. We have a few minutes left. I am happy to answer any questions. You guys aren't super even chat talkative today, but I will say and answer any questions you have. Please feel free to turn on your microphone or put them in the chat. What do you get? What do you get for free with Seesaw? Pretty much everything that you need. And the only difference is that in the paid for version, you can organize by skill. So if a kid does like poetry, you can put it into a poetry folder and be like, okay, we did the poetry thing and kind of check it off almost. I just don't use that. I've only used the free version. And so that is, that's one app where the free version is more than enough. And GimKit is like Kahoot, but it's and maybe someone else can answer as well, but it's made by ex-students. So I think that the owner of that company is like 20 years old now, but it was a kid who wanted to do something, quizzes that could be asked in class and on the screen, kind of like there's like a kind of like a bar game, to be honest with you, like at a bar when you play like Trivial Pursuit in that way. I've always said Kahoot is that game. But that's what GimKit is. And GimKit makes it really fun because you can take points away from other kids. You can, like, kids can mess with each other, and sometimes that can get a little fun. So tomorrow I have a session, by the way, on the last one on Book Creator. It's the 4th one of 4. So it will, it's best to have some prior knowledge before coming, but you're certainly welcome to come. And most of these integrate into OneNote and Teams. All of them integrate into Teams because Teams has tabs and you can just bring in a website. I love Christina's answer to that. It's a quiz game you can play and sabotage other kids. I love that. Well worded, Christina. Oh my gosh. Every grade should be using Seesaw, even high school, in my opinion. Any other questions? I'm going to stop recording, so if anyone comes, they don't have to watch this part.